Okay, so here we go. It's what, 7:13 p.m. Central Standard Time where I'm at. I'm just catching up on some of the news today. It's a bunch of weird, wild, crazy news out here today. Where, where shall we begin? Well, this happened yesterday. It was a B-52 bomb, B-52 crash Edwards Air Force Base in Kern County, California. It was a deadly crash. This happened in Kern County, California yesterday. They said 8 more people were killed in this crash. And it was a test flight. It's a military test flight. Edwards Air Force Base, AFB. And they said that it was a group of 8 people. Let me find the most recent story. So 2 of them were Boeing employees. Let's see, United States. Let me see what 2026 United States Air Force Boeing B-52 crash. On June 15th, 2026, United States Air Force Boeing B-52 Stratofortress strategic bomber crashed shortly after takeoff near Edwards Air Force Base in California. 8 crew members were killed. The accident was the first crash of a B-52 since 2016, when one crashed at Anderson Air Force Base in Guam, injuring the 7 crew members. It is also the deadliest crash of a B-52 since 1982, when one crashed at Mather Air Force Base in Sacramento County, California, killing all 9 members. So they said that this crash was pretty much unsurvivable. They showed the wreckage after it happened, and that plane was burnt to ashes. So there's not going to even be funerals because the bodies were burnt to ashes. I mean, there was literally nothing on the ground after that plane crashed and exploded into flames. So, it says the passengers and the crew, the aircraft was carrying 8 people, including military personnel, civilians, and contractors, on a routine test mission. Boeing confirmed that 2 of its employees were among the occupants. The flight was intended to support an active electronically scanned array, AESA, radar modernization program. It happened around 11:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time because it's in California. Photos from the scene showed little recognizable wreckage after a post-crash fire, and video footage showed a large plume of black smoke rising from the crash site. That plane, there's nothing left of that aircraft. I mean, was it a helicopter? It was a B-52. There was nothing left. There's not even corpses to claim. I don't even, that looks like they don't even have any skeletal remains. That plane burnt to ashes. Yeah, it was very sad. It was 8 people aboard that plane, that B-52. Oof. That is the 3rd plane crash that has happened in the last 2 days. Was it right? Yeah, Sunday, I did a video about the plane crash that happened. It was a helicopter crash. 2 helicopter crashes that happened here in Missouri, like 65 miles outside of Kansas City, where 12 people were killed. Then there was a plane crash or helicopter crash in Brazil where 6 people were killed. And now this B-52 crash where 8 people have been killed. So that's 18, it's like 24 people have died from these crashes in the past 2 days. Yeah. I don't know what it is about these airplanes crashing. This has been going on now, what, for the past year or 2? Couple of years now, with planes that just crashing, falling out the sky and crashing. Oh, scary, scary, scary. 6 people have been arrested in some type of stupid stunt. 6 people arrested. I wanted to play. It was some type of bungee jumping stunt. Queen City is bungee jumping. 6 people arrested. I read this earlier. Bungee. Okay, that's it. Okay. This is so stupid. So here goes. This is yesterday in Brazil. Brazil again. That's where the helicopter crash happened in Brazil. So this was in Limeira, Brazil. Multiple individuals were arrested after a thrill seeker lost her life when she was thrown from a bridge by staff members while unsecured. According to the New York Post, citing a report from Brazilian outlet Globo, 21-year-old Maria Eduarda Rodrigues de Freitas, fell approximately 130 feet to her death on Saturday after she was thrown from the Skeleton Bridge in Limeira, Sao Paulo, while unsecured by a bungee cord. So she was thrill-seeking, adrenaline junkie, bungee jumping, and the cord snapped. The incident was captured on video that has since gone viral across social media. She was thrown. One witness can be heard shouting, "Guys, the rope!" The publication reported that the lady, her fiance, was present when the incident occurred. Reports state that a police helicopter responded to the scene, but she was dead at the scene. The publication further reported that 6 individuals were arrested in connection with the incident, including 3 individuals who were present when she was thrown down. 2 of the suspects reportedly attempted to flee. They tried to run, but were successfully located in a wooded area by a helicopter. They don't run now. Y'all was doing something stupid. But she really caused her own death because she agreed to it. She assumed the risk. Doing something stupid, like I was telling y'all about those other people. I always make reports because I just can't believe how people gamble with their lives doing stupid stuff like this. Why? Because y'all want to go viral? Y'all want to go on the internet and show people, look, we're bungee jumping in Brazil. And the rope broke. Skeleton Bridge. Your Skeleton Bridge, all right, because she's a skeleton now. Died instantly. And when you're bungee jumping, if that rope breaks, there is nothing you can do but just die. They can't. They're so stupid. But anyway, they've been arrested because they said that doing something like that, it's just stupid. It's just extremely reckless. That's a reckless disregard for human life when you do something that's reckless. So this is probably why they were arrested, although they may not get convicted or they might get, a minimal punishment because this woman participated in this. She willingly engaged in this dangerous behavior. So we'll see what happens, if they follow up on what happens to these 6 individuals, but she did this to herself. She fell 120 feet to her death. Ugh. Facebook got the video actually on there of showing the lady falling. They showing the people putting her up and then throwing her down and the rope snapping and her falling to her death. And they said her fiance was there and he saw it. 21 years old. Thrill seekers, daredevils. Talk about some more. 2 people also died. Base jumping, whatever base jumping is. 2 people have lost their lives. Where was it said? I think it was in some parts of Utah. 2 people died base jumping. I think it was in some parts of Utah. I'm going to make sure. Base jumping accident kills 2. This guy was like an athlete. He was like one of those type of people that do all these dangerous these stunts like Evel Knievel or whatever. So Base jumping accident kills 2, including extreme athlete Andy Lewis, performed with Madonna at the Super Bowl. A weekend base jumping accident in a Utah canyon, killed 2 people. One of them a daredevil athlete, best known for performing on stage with Madonna at the 2012 Super Bowl, authorities said. So, emergency responders were dispatched Sunday to a report of people injured in a base jumping attempt at Mineral Bottom, a remote desert area near the Utah-Colorado line, according to the sheriff's office in Grand County, Utah. The office confirmed one of the dead was Andy Lewis, an extreme athlete known for feats in base jumping, a dangerous sport that involves parachuting to the ground after jumping from a tall, fixed object such as a building, bridge, or desert cliff overlooking a deep canyon. So they tried to jump off of a tall structure into a canyon. I guess that's what base jumping is. The victims have been conducting a tandem jump in which 2 people are harnessed together, according to a social media post by Aerial Arts Moab, an acrobatics company that described Lewis as a co-owner and best friend. Lewis also owned Base Jump Moab, a business that offered tandem jumps to inexperienced customers. Inexperienced? Who would do this? Who would be harnessed to a guide wearing the parachute? Who would do this? Promotional videos on the company's website show pairs of people stepping off the edges of towering cliffs and briefly plummeting before their parachutes open. They got a picture of this guy in this article, Andy Lewis, and he's walking across a high line at the Fruit Bowl in Moab, Utah. He's walking on a tightrope across a big, deep canyon in a photo. This guy he just liked to play with his life. Well, he played with his life, he gambled, and he lost this time. So, in base jumping circles, Lewis had a huge following and a reputation for pushing the envelope, leaping into tighter spaces or deploying his parachute later than his peers would dare, said John McAvoy, a base jumping instructor in Twin Falls, Idaho, who has jumped with Lewis. So you have people who teach people how to do stupid stuff, do dumb stunts like this. He had an incredible level of athleticism and skill that was developed over years of practice, McAvoy said, but then he would take an incredible amount of risk. Yeah, it's obvious. Grand County Sheriff Jameson Wiggins has confirmed the other person who was killed was Danny Joe Kriegel, a 68-year-old father and grandfather, who was described by a family member as an accomplished businessman. Why would a 68-year-old man, accomplished businessman, father and grandfather, would want to base jump? Danny had a wonderful sense of humor and was always looking for ways to make people laugh, relative Sidney Laverty told the Times Independent. One of his greatest joys was performing magic tricks alongside his granddaughter. Lewis was a prominent figure in the niche sports of slacklining and tricklining, which combine elements of high wire walking with aerial acrobatics, sometimes at perilous heights. Yeah, I said there's a picture of him walking across a tightrope across a deep, it looked like the Grand Canyon or somewhere. This guy, Andy Lewis. Ugh. So this man decides he want to go with Andy Lewis and base jump, and they both lost their lives. Lewis went from obscure athlete to overnight celebrity when he appeared on stage in Madonna's 2012 Super Bowl halftime show. Dressed in a Roman toga, Lewis bounced and executed tricks on his inch-wide line like it was a trampoline while Madonna sang behind him. Whatever. My phone actually rang itself to death 3 days in a row, Lewis said soon after his appearance. Afterward, in an appearance on the Conan O'Brien's late night show, I guess after he made his little grand appearance on the stage with Madonna during the Super Bowl, I guess that's when he became famous, overnight celebrity, whatever. Base jumping is much riskier than skydiving, studies show. All of it's dangerous. Though there's no official tally of base jumping deaths, a list compiled by the website baseaddict.com shows 540 total fatalities worldwide since 1981, including 30 people killed last year. Prominent deaths include base jumper Dean Potter and his climbing partner Graham Hunt, who were killed in 2015 while attempting a wingsuit flight in California's Yosemite National Park. See, this is just stupid. This is just stupid, stupid, stupid. I'm not going to finish reading all this stuff. But yeah, these two people just died. Uh, base jumping, two more people. So those two people, that 21-year-old girl, she was bungee jumping in Brazil, and these people were base jumping in Utah, and they both lost their lives. Stop playing with your lives, people. And I'm not through. There's some more stories. This one I keep telling you about these hikers going off in the woods, but this one is kind of different. This one is about a bear. A bear who was captured in Japan. It's not funny though, because it was really serious. There was a wild black bear running loose in Japan, and they recently captured him, or her. I don't know what the sex was. But this bear was at large in Japan. And so they had to close down the schools and everything because this bear was running at large in Japan for 8 days. It says Japanese city closes nearly 100 schools after bear sightings at post-hibernation attacks rise. And no, this was one in particular. Let me see, the Japanese black bear. That was back in April. No, this just happened. Okay, so they had to close. This was near Tokyo, where they saw this bear and it attacked two people. And they finally captured it. Let me go to the news. Let me see. Let me see. Japanese city shuts down nearly 100 schools after unprecedented bear sighting. Yeah, they had to shut the schools down, but they captured him. What is this city called? No, I'm not. Let me see. What's it called? Utsunomiya. Utsunomiya. I don't know. Guess with the U. A city in Japan has closed all its 94 primary and secondary schools after a bear was spotted in the municipality for the first time. Officials in the city, a city of 500,000 people, about 62 miles north of Tokyo, took action after a medium-sized black bear estimated to be about 1 meter long was seen near a park in the city on Saturday. The bear was spotted again on closed-caption TV, running just in front of two startled young men in the city center in the early hours of Sunday. It was seen in residential areas during the day on Sunday, and again in a factory district about 2 kilometers from the city center at 4 a.m. on Monday. City officials are urging residents to keep their doors and windows locked, not to approach the bear if they see it, and to take refuge in the closest building. The city also deployed public address vehicles to alert local residents. Police said the local hunting association resumed their search for the animal this morning. I thought they said they captured him. They said last week another bear in... Oh, okay, so there's another bear on the loose? So they captured one. They said because hibernation season ended. Since a record 50,000 bear sightings have been reported this year in Japan, concentrated in the northeast. The animals have not usually been seen this close to Tokyo. However, a Russian hiker was injured by a bear last month in Akatuma, on the far western edge of the metropolitan area, while another appeared at the satellite city of Akiyoji, I don't know that, shortly afterwards. Last week, a bear in Fukushima, whatever, attacked four people entered a company's office, injuring an employee before going into a factory for which it is believed to have escaped by opening a window from inside. So the bear can open a window and escape. Bear attacks in Japan have been on an increase in recent years, with a record number of deaths and injuries reported in the year since March. Local governments are exploring various methods in response. So Japan got a bear problem, an angry bear problem. Precise population numbers are unavailable, blah, 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 blah. We're not going to read all that. The bigger brown bears live only on the northern island of Hokkaido, whatever, with males averaging 2 meters and on. They're big bears, whatever. So, fluctuations and harvest of bears' staple foods includes acorns, can bring them into towns and villages. So they go to forage, look for food. So what is up with this? All these bears running loose in Japan, and they're being sighted closer to the city, according to this report. So one bear was captured. So they're saying there's another bear on the loose, I believe. The heck? Just people need to. Oh, you know what? They don't have. I think guns are illegal in Tokyo or Japan. I was about to say, why don't they just shoot the bear? See, if it was over in America, it'd have been shot. So, yeah. It's another story 2 weeks ago that said a bear injured 4 people in a residential area. But see, this is different because these people are not going into the bear's habitat. The bear is coming into the people into residential areas in the city. This is different because the next stories I'm about to get into is about these stupid people going. Okay, this story was published. Let me go back. This story was published on June 2nd. A bear injured 4 people in a Japanese residential area on Tuesday in the latest attack in an area of the country where the animals have increasingly encroached on the human population in recent years. So they're moving closer to human residential areas in the cities over in Japan. Japan's Environment Ministry said a record 13 people were killed in more than 230 attacks by bears in 2025. So last year, 13 people were killed, actually. And there's been over 200 attacks by bears in Japan in 2025. So this was 2 weeks ago. And so this article that I just read says that this was another bear on the loose where they had to shut down 100 schools. So Japan has a angry, massive bear problem going on over there. And those bears are actually attacking people and killing them. But like I said, it ain't like they were over there messing with the bears in the woods. Now these people over here in America, they go hiking in these woods and stuff, messing with the bears. So that's different. So anyway, let me go to this story, a bear attack in a park. This happened
tonight. The real scare at Yellowstone National Park. 2 hikers mauled.
2 hikers were mauled in Yellowstone Park. Hiking in Yellowstone Park. Going in the woods where the bears belong. And they encountered a bear. Of course, when you go into the woods where bears live, you're going to encounter a bear, more than likely, or some other wild animal. So they were injured. This happened last month. They were seriously injured. Seriously injured. Because they ain't got no business up there. They have no business being up there. That's the reason why. Humans don't belong in the habitat in the woods where wild animals roam. You have no business being there. And they're seriously injured. So let's see. It was 2 of them. They were hikers. hiking in the woods. What is the point? The attack happened near near the popular Old Faithful geyser. Happened Monday. This was last month. Officials said, prompting the closure of some of the areas of the park. The National Park Service said in a statement that the hikers were injured Monday by one or more bears and that the attack was under investigation. They're not going to do anything to the bears because that's where the bears belong. They're supposed to be there. Those human beings were in the habitat where the bears live. And so it's not the bears' fault you got attacked. The attack happened on Mystic Falls trails near the ever-popular Old Faithful geyser in Wyoming, the Park Service said. In video recorded by Craig Lerman, another hiker, a man can be seen lying on the ground with apparent facial injuries and wearing a blood-soaked shirt. Lerman tells him, "They're coming," to which the man replies, "How long?" Another video shows someone on the ground being helped, and another shows someone being airlifted. It was the first time a bear has injured someone in Yellowstone National Park this year. The last time someone was injured was in September, the agency said, but it has been over a decade since a bear killed someone in the woods. They still don't have no business being in the woods. So when this happened in 2015, it says Lance Crosby, 63, was killed by a grizzly bear in Yellowstone in August 2015. Some trails and other parts of the park have been closed after Monday's attack. Seasonal park employee Marie Jaskula, who saw the victims being put on stretchers, said the attack was sobering. "It's very much a reality check," she said, "and we have read a quote once that once you enter the forest, you become part of the food chain, and it's very realistic. No stuff. Of course, you become a part of the food chain because you have no business being in the woods. Stay out the woods. Why are you in the woods?" Where is the other story? So that was the bear in Japan. There's the bear in Yellowstone in Wyoming.
Made eye contact and just came straight at me. I just kind of thought like, this is it.
And this is another
The
one.
San Carlos man describing being attacked by a grizzly bear while on a trip to a national park in Montana. The attack left him with serious injuries, but ABC 10 News reporter Michael Chen explained the instinctive move that likely saved his life.
This is a sound taken by Daniel Craig at 2:30.
Shut up. Okay, so this is another bear attack story. San Carlos man survives. This was in Montana. And this was at Glacier National Park. This is another one. This happened a week ago. He's telling his story to the news. By the grace of God, he survived this bear attack. It says the San Carlos area resident said he is thankful to be alive. You better be. After being mauled and dragged by a grizzly. Shut up. On May 28th. So this happened May 28th. A San Diego man is recovered after a horrific grizzly bear attack while hiking through Montana's Glacier National Park on May 28th. San Carlos area resident Daniel Prego told News 8 he came face to face with two grizzly bears during the hike. "I see something off to my left, and it was a smaller cub, so that bear was probably protecting his cub when it attacked him. But it was already behind me," Prego said. "It was continued walking in their direction, didn't seem to notice me. Behind him was a larger bear, that was Mama Bear. At that point, I did what they kind of teach or train you to do. Just alert the bear so you don't startle. You make them aware," Prego said, "so I did that. Hey bear, and it kind of had its nose in the snow, maybe smelling something, and looked up at me. And as soon as we looked at each other, it charged at me because it was protecting its cub." Prego said the grizzly attacked and dragged him like the Revenant. "I just kind of thought this is it." He said, "I just kind of thought this is it." It bit down on my arm. He better be glad it didn't bite him in his neck because the bear usually bites you on your neck to kill you. It bit down on my arm, dragged me maybe 20 feet, Prego said. I kind of flipped, landed on my backside, opened my eyes, and the bear had continued running down the mountain. So the bear bit him and attacked him and mauled him, and it ran because it wanted to protect its young. Prego said nearby hikers, one being a doctor, helped to stop the bleeding and stabilize his arm before he was airlifted to a hospital in Kalispell, Montana. Thankfully, the bear didn't injure the wrist, didn't injure the elbow. It was just a complete crush of the bones. That's how powerful these bears are. It crushed his forearm bones. He returned to San Diego late last week. He has had 3 surgeries so far, with another expected next week. Multiple surgeries. And says his medical expenses have already added up, so you know what's coming is the GoFundMe. GoFundMe for doing stupid stuff. The helicopter itself is $20,000. After insurance, Prego said, I haven't received any medical bills yet from the inpatient stay, which required an ER visit, multiple surgeries. So, of course, he started an online fundraiser to help manage the cost of his recovery. He has received over $20,000 in donations. Any additional funds, he said, will go to the National Park Service. While exhausted and shaken, Prego told News 8 that this horrific accident is not going to stop him from doing what he loves most, being outdoors, so he's going to do it again. It's part of who I am, Prego said. It's not going to stop me. Well, the next time he gets mauled again, it might stop him this time around because he keeps testing fate. See, this type of stupid stuff, people could use $20,000 for real necessary medical bills instead of some idiot going up into the woods and getting mauled by a bear and having to have 4 surgeries and $20,000 air flights, medevacs. This is what I mean by so another idiot daredevil hiker going somewhere out of bounds where he don't belong. And by the grace of God, he did not get mauled to death by this mama bear protecting her cub. What else?
A daughter's fight for justice that's lasted more than a decade finally came to an end today. She watched it.
I don't want to talk about that story yet because I want to talk about this story about these 2 women. There were 2 women who got washed up on a beach. They got killed. Where's that story at? Where's that story at? It's 2 women that washed up on a beach. They got killed. They got swept off on a beach. I'm trying to find that story. On the beach, and they got killed. They were asleep on the beach. Beach killed women. Are they in Long Beach? Yeah, okay. Panther Beach. It's 2 women decided that they was going to sleep on the beach. Which there's nothing wrong with sleeping on the beach as long as you're safe, away from the water or whatever. But these women, I'm not going to subscribe to your paper. I'll go to another story. Okay, so it says that second Yellow Bank Beach drowning victim dies. Woman identified as friends from the Bay Area. 2 young women from the San Francisco Bay Area have died after they drowned during dangerous ocean conditions last week at a beach in northern Santa Cruz County. This is again in California. They were from Fremont. Harshita Nair, age 21, and Mahal Saran, age 20, died Thursday and Saturday, respectively, after being swept into the water near Yellow Bank Beach last Wednesday, according to the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office. Last week, Santa Cruz County volunteer fire captain Kyle Breton said on X, formerly Twitter, that the two women were likely swept out into the ocean by a rising tide. He said 8 rescue swimmers assisted in the search and were able to get the women out and transported to local hospitals. Breton said the area's quick rising tide often catches people unaware, off guard, and warned the public to be cautious when visiting these beaches. Sheriff's Office spokesman Ashley Keene told Lookout the coroner hasn't yet officially determined the cause and manner of death. Nair and Saran both graduated from Washington High School in Fremont in 2023, according to their LinkedIn profiles. Saran was studying public health at San Jose State University, while Nair was a legal studies major at UC Berkeley. Both were scheduled to graduate in 2027. So these girls went to sleep on the beach. They probably was just talking, just chilling on the beach. And they were probably too close and they fell asleep and the current came and swept them away. So one died on Saturday. No, one died on Thursday, and then the other one, she died on one died on Thursday, and the other one died on Saturday. So they saved them. They pulled them out of the water, but they both ended up dying. They were too close to the current. Yeah. Wonder were they getting high and fell asleep, or drinking and fell asleep. That's what it sounds like to me, that they may have been getting high or drunk on that beach and fell asleep. Unfortunately, that's what it seems like to me. There's more to it, more to that story. Speaking of getting high, the California daycare. Some daycare worker in California, this is why I said if I had young kids or any young kids in my family, I do not want them to have to go to daycare, not even public school nowadays, because it's just too dangerous.
This preschool is where 3 kids tested positive for
Methamphetamines.
You would imagine it would be shut.
A daycare worker worked at a daycare, brought her meth to work with her and put it up somewhere. I don't know if she was going to get high on her lunch break or what, but she left her methamphetamines somewhere where the kids could get a hold of it. Oh Lord Jesus. And so the story was on CBS News. It says California daycare remains open after children test positive for drugs. In May 2024, 2 young girls came home from their Winnetka daycare exhibiting abnormal behavior. After trips to the hospital, both girls tested positive for drugs, leading to a state investigation into the facility. But 2 years later, it remains open. That daycare should have been immediately closed. It remains open, however, with several parents unaware of the findings. So 2 girls went to the daycare. The parents went down from the daycare, and the girls were high out of their mind on meth because they had found a daycare worker's stash of meth. Since California Department of Social Service investigation in July 2024 found that an employee had placed a small bag containing methamphetamines in a bathroom cubby. The CDSS added that 3 children were exposed to and allowed to ingest substances containing amphetamines or methamphetamines. And they showed a video of the little girl in the news story, and the father said that she was acting really strange, and the little girl was just high out of her mind. And so the father took the little girl, she was 4, I believe, took her to the hospital, and they tested her and said she tested positive for methamphetamines. So in the wake of the investigation, Tampa Management, which owns Rainbow Early Learning Center, reached an agreement in February 2026 with CDSS that included the revocation of the facility's license. But CBS California investigates learned that action has been put on hold for 3 years while the company operates under probationary status. They put them on probation, and it's been, no. Those kids could have died. What if it had been fentanyl and they died? They could have died from the meth. And this daycare, they put them on probation. and the daycare is still open. So I hope this news story, I hope parents see everybody that had their kids in their daycare should pull their kids out of that daycare, and nobody else should enroll another kid into this daycare, this preschool, period. So even if they still are on probation and hasn't been closed down, they should be forced out of business because of lack of children attending. That's what I would do. I just take all the kids out the daycare and just force it to close down. Says so. About a half a dozen parents told CBS California investigates that they had not been informed of the probationary status. You don't have to, this news story is enough to take your kids out of this place. It says on May 30, 2024, Jose Aguilar said his 4-year-old daughter came home from daycare vomiting and unable to sleep for 2 days. Yes, because meth will have you up for days on end with no sleep. He added that she wouldn't eat. She kept talking constantly and struggled to stay still. Yes, because meth, that's amphetamines, it's speed. Aguilar and his wife took their daughter to the hospital where her blood test revealed she tested positive for amphetamines. Around the same time, Sharuk Bakir's 2-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old, who attended the same daycare as Aguilar's daughter, tested positive for methamphetamines, which is a type of amphetamine. S.A. Amafoa represents the Bakir family in a lawsuit, this is the lawyer, against the daycare, exactly, sue the shoes off of them. Even though he doesn't represent the Aguilar family, he said the children didn't have any family contact and didn't spend time with each other outside of the daycare. So they know that they kind of putting 2 and 2 together to see that all 3 of these kids were at the same daycare and they both were acting erratically when they got home, and they took them to the hospital and they all tested positive for amphetamines or methamphetamines. There were symptoms that these children were exposed to dangerous drugs, and staff, no one really took it seriously, the lawyer said. Parents weren't notified. Medical personnel wasn't contacted to look into this, so they just blew this off that these babies got into this dope, into this employee's drug stash. During a phone call, the school's director told CBS California investigates that the employee had been fired, and CDSS added that she is prohibited from employment in, presence in, and contact with clients of any facility licensed by them. That's not enough. That woman should have been arrested. Dominic Gamali, whose daughter attends the daycare, said, under no circumstances should people be able to get off easy. I agree. Why is your daughter still in the daycare? I feel these establishments should be completely shut down. That's right. CBS California investigates obtained data from CDSS that showed between 2020 and 2025, 393 child care centers and family child care homes across the state were placed on probationary status for failing to comply with health and safety regulations. This is no excuse. They blew it off. They didn't take this seriously. They only fired the woman. They did not arrest her. And then they put the daycare on probation. That person should have been fired and arrested. The daycare should have been shut down. And they should be sued. And the parents should take their kids, pull their kids out this daycare, and they should not be able to admit or enroll any more kids. Ugh. Both Bakir and Aguilar's daughters are now at different schools. Aguilar said his daughter still struggles to focus in class. Yeah, because they don't know what that meth may have done to them permanently. And at home, because their little brains, is on that's a hard drug. And their little brains may have been permanently damaged from this. And he and his wife have set up a bed for the now 6-year-old. She was 4 at the time, and so she's now 6. And they got a bed for her in their room to kind of monitor her now. Aguilar explained that she can't get through the night on her own. It's really hard. We don't sleep the same like normal before because I have to check my daughter every day. Aguilar said. CDSS also said it's investigating another Tempe management facility in the state after a lawsuit alleged that the daycare left the child in a locked vehicle for about an hour. CBS California investigates went to the daycare and the staff declined to comment. The CDSS has a search tool where parents and caregivers can search whether a child care facility is on probation. That's just not enough. It's just not safe to send kids to school or daycare anymore now. Kids are so vulnerable nowadays. Ugh. They just gave them probation. Kids got into meth and took the meth, ingested the meth, and these people only got probation and nobody gets arrested. I hope they sue the shoes off of them and force them out of business. Nebraska resident, a young man from Nebraska, has been arrested as the mastermind of this plot. There was a plot this weekend on Trump's birthday. It was like 23 people who had planned to pull off some type of terroristic attack at the UFC event on the White House grounds. And they were going to they were planning an attack with drones they were planning a mass shooting at the White House during the UFC event. It's like 23 people. 23 people that were arrested. And they were all over the country. They were in some chat room, which is stupid. They were in a chat room plotting and planning, plotting and strategizing now to kill. They were going to, they said they wanted to kill Trump. They wanted to kill Benjamin Netanyahu. They wanted to kill Elon Musk. And who else? Kash Patel or somebody. But anyway, these idiots got arrested. They got arrested. They rounded them up. And they were from all over the country. Some were in California. Some were in Nebraska, Ohio. It was 23 of them. And they are all getting charged with conspiracy to commit violent crimes against the government, which are serious charges, especially when you are plotting to conduct a mass shooting at the White House. You are really in serious trouble. They're going to lay them down. That was the stupidest thing. And y'all did it online. That's just dumb. That's stupid. What else? I posted the stories up there to show y'all where they arrested these individuals. They went all over the country, rounding them up and arresting them. They said it was like 23 of them that was planning this massive drone shooting. And the mastermind is this guy from Nebraska. That's crazy. And doing it during the wrestling event. Or the UFC fighting event. I guess that's why Dana White said they're not doing it no more because, yeah, feds reveal details of alleged plot to attack White House. A group of idiots. Group planned to attack White House UFC event using snipers and drones, FBI says. The FBI thwarted a plot targeting UFC Sunday event at the White House and arrested 5 men, the U.S. Department of Justice said on Tuesday. Part of the plan involved striking nearby buildings with explosive-laden drones and firing on high-value targets, prosecutors said. One suspect was arrested in Ohio last week, where investigators reviewed encrypted messages involving other alleged conspirators. Prosecutors said in charging documents they had allegedly expressed ultra-religious and anti-government sentiments. Allegedly planned attacks were stopped cold, FBI Director Kash Patel posted on social media on Tuesday about the multi-state operation. The suspects were identified as Tyson C. Proper, age 19, the suspect arrested in Ohio, along with Brian Omar Roa, who was 24, Michael Allen Thomas, 32, in California, Daniel K. Eskridge, 32, of Missouri, and Abraham Hermosillo Alvarez, 31, of Nebraska. They were arrested across 4 states, and each have been charged with conspiracy to commit murder, the Department of Justice said in a statement. By using the drones, the plotters aimed to spark panic and draw the fleeing crowd toward a sniper team. So they were going to use the drones to scare them and make them run towards sniper shooters, so that they could just start shooting them. What the heck? Those are wicked evil. A second wave of attackers was then allegedly supposed to storm the White House gate. An estimated 4,300 people were present for the invite-only event on the South Lawn, and another 85,000 were able to watch nearby during the back-to-back fights on Saturday. Court filings related to Alvarez said the group allegedly eyed potential targets that included U.S. President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Elon Musk, as well as several elected officials, though not all of them attended the UFC event. The plot was discovered through Proper. His mother called local authorities late on June 10th, just days before the high-profile event, because she was concerned about his large firearms. He had a large cache of firearms, and the mother, being hyper-vigilant, and she saw it, she knew something was afoot. She knew something was up, so she immediately, and see, if more parents did that. She's concerned about his large firearm purchases and what she had seen of his online communications with a group so she probably started snooping. When she saw him buying all them guns, she started going behind him and seeing what he was doing online. And what she had seen of his online communications with a group that claimed to be made up of former military members and Christian-based. The group allegedly wanted to jumpstart a revolution by shooting high-value targets identified as wealthy people and politicians attending the UFC fight. They had specifically discussed grievances about government corruption and handling of the Epstein files, data centers taking up all the water in communities, and other government actions, prosecutors said. Group members said they wanted to protect the United States, which they believed was headed in the wrong direction, an FBI document said. It's a long, oh my God. So these were anti-government Christian group of people. And they just had, bones to pick with the government. And they wanted to cause a mass casualty event on Donald Trump's birthday at the UFC event at the White House. But the mother was smart enough to alert authorities to prevent this from happening. So the mother was a hero. The mother was a hero. She stopped it. She alerted the authorities as soon as she suspected something was very wrong. So kudos to that woman, the mother. That's another story. The rapper Mystical just got sentenced to 20 years in prison for raping a woman. Louisiana rapper Mystical was sentenced to 20 years in prison in a 2022 rape that happened in his Prairieville home. Now, keep in mind, Mystical had did 6 years before for sexually assaulting a hairdresser. And he served 6 years. This was probably about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. He did 6 years flat on his first case of sexually assaulting and raping a woman. So this is just something he does. And I remember I was reading a story a few days ago that said that he tried to take back his plea when he found out the kind of time that he was getting, because he had pled guilty to it. And so he just got his sentence today, but they wouldn't let him retract his guilty plea. But this is your second time at the rodeo for rape, buddy. You know they're going to lay you down. And Louisiana do not play. So what I don't understand is that this guy is a rapper. He has made a little name for himself. He doesn't have to rape anybody. So he's got some type of demonic defect in himself, within himself, that would make him do such a thing. Because this is not the first time, this is the second time he's done this. So they laid him down for 20 years. It says during his sentencing Tuesday, the victim faced the judge and asked for a maximum sentence for the artist, whose real name is Michael Tyler. The victim said Tyler punched her, choked her, pulled braids out of her hair, and forcibly raped her. After she spoke, Tyler had a chance to address the court. He tried to speak to the victim, but was only allowed to make his statement to the judge. If I did that to you, I deserve the maximum sentence, he said, facing the front of the courtroom. Tyler was sentenced to 20 years for third-degree rape, and they gave him this because he's had a prior conviction for this. And this is 5 years shy of the maximum punishment. So the maximum punishment was 25 years. They gave him 20 years. His sentence was capped at 2 decades in March when Tyler entered a guilty plea. So they would have gave him the max, but he pled guilty in March. He was originally arrested for first-degree rape, which carries a maximum life sentence, but then pleaded to an amended charge. So he pleaded down and got 20 years because he could have got life. Days before his sentencing, Tyler's attorney filed a motion seeking to withdraw his guilty plea. It said he didn't have time to fully consider the consequences of his decision. The motion was dismissed. They said, no, we ain't having it. We about to lay you down. We about to slam you. Upon his release, a judge said Tyler has to keep up with his sex offender registration. Tyler previously faced similar allegations in 2022, so that was 24 years ago. After sexually assaulting his hairstylist, he spent 6 years in prison following the arrest and registered as a sex offender then. I just don't get it, because this man didn't have to rape nobody. It's a lot of whores out here that willingly would have gave it to him. And he does this, so. And they said that he got 20 years with no parole. Oh, this Mystical, that is so stupid. And then he used to tour. I think he used to kind of do, shows occasionally still. How old is How old is the rapper Mystical? It's something wrong with him. And this man Mystical is 55 years old. He was born September 22nd, 1970. He is 55 years old and is about to he's gonna die in prison pretty much. Michael Lawrence Tyler, better known as the stage name Mystical. He's gonna die in there pretty much. He ain't never getting out. He's born and raised in New Orleans. His father, who ran a small neighborhood store, died when Tyler was 7. He attended Cone High School and afterward joined the United States as a combat engineer. He's a veteran. Mystical has been in the military. He wasn't just a typical average dumb rapper. That's a demonic defect in him. There's something wrong with him. That on his 24th birthday, Mystical found his sister Michelle Tyler dead in her bedroom, having been stabbed and strangled. Her boyfriend at the time, Damien Neville, the grandson of a member of the Neville brothers, was charged with murder but later acquitted due to a lack of evidence and a recanted confession. So Mystical just got, he had some issues. He has been held without bond in Ascension Parish since July 30, 2022 on rape and domestic abuse charges. On March 17, 2026, Tyler entered a guilty plea to rape charges on June 16, 2026. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. But this is not this is what the only rape charge. He has repeated rape offenses, according to this Wikipedia. He caught a charge. Yeah, he's got multiple legal issues. So he's just a menace. He's just a degenerate. So yeah, Louisiana laid him down. And they laid him down. I'm not going to go into all this. Y'all can go read his Wikipedia, but yeah, he's right where he needs to be because he just didn't learn his lesson. So, yeah, it's just, this dude just could. I don't understand. I really don't. you got money and all this stuff, and you just, but you know, when you enter into that lifestyle, you know, you're going to suffer the consequences regardless. That's what, yeah, that I do understand. When you enter into that lifestyle and you indulge in the things of the devil, these are the consequences. You play demonic games, you win demonic prizes. And Mystical is no exception. So that's that. He's got 20 years to reevaluate his life, but he's more than likely going to die in prison because he's 55 years old. 55, and you still doing stupid stuff. So at the time he did it was 2022. He was 53. No, 51. He was still old enough to know better. He's something wrong with him. So they laid him down for 20 years today. A Colorado man was sentenced to 18 years because he was on Facebook. He would go to Facebook Marketplace and respond to people selling luxury cars, Mercedes Benzes, and he would rob them. And to 18 years. Let me get the story. He would find these sellers on Marketplace. And let's see. Several Colorado men have recently received 18-year prison sentences for different convictions. Okay, so this is the guy I'm looking for. A story out of Denver. Colorado man gets 18 years for Facebook Marketplace carjacking spree targeting Mercedes sellers. Prosecutors are warning buyers and sellers to take extra precautions when selling items online. A Colorado man will serve nearly 2 decades in federal prison after he used Facebook Marketplace to target victims, shooting one and stealing 2 high-end cars in Denver. He should have known he was going to get caught. I guess they just don't care. People that don't have nothing to lose, they don't care. It's a case prosecutors and law enforcement hope will serve as a warning for people trying to sell items on social media. Alec Deschriver, 26, was sentenced to 18 years in prison earlier this month after pleading guilty to 2 counts of carjacking. Prosecutors said he was targeting luxury cars for sale like Mercedes-Benz and the sellers through Facebook Marketplace. District of Colorado U.S. Attorney Peter McNeely prosecuted the case and called Deschriver a violent and determined criminal. Court records show the first robbery occurred in Loveland in October 2023 when Deschriver used his Facebook account to set up a meeting to look at a Mercedes sedan. The husband of the woman who posted the vehicle went on the test drive and got carjacked at gunpoint. So he's test driving a car with the husband and he tells him, get out. He points the gun at him and tells him to get out and takes the car. That's the dumbest thing in the world. A month later, and you can track a car. It depends on the year of the Benz. You can track that car. A month later, officers with the Denver Police Department came across a very similar case, but this time the victim was shot in the thigh while he was removing a car seat from the back of the vehicle. It was an escalating pattern of conduct. Stupid idiot. Chris Ashbridge, special agent in charge of the Denver Field Division for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, said his office became involved and helped bring the 2 cases together. So yeah, it went fed. Using surveillance video, online messages, and ballistics, it helped turn the 2 carjackings into 1 federal prosecution. So he's gonna do federal time. We were able to take what may have appeared to be isolated incidents and connect them with a string of violent crimes, Ashbridge said. Violent criminals, they value property more than they value another human being's life. McNeely warned that criminals are targeting online marketplaces and urged anyone who buys or sells items online to take protective steps before meeting anyone face to face. He says the case is a prime example of how quickly a sale can turn violent. He recommends that people set up meetings at public spaces at public places and police designated areas. We turn to these sites because it's fast and easy, but be careful where you arrange things to happen. Bringing someone to your house is a risky practice, McNeely said. Do whatever you can to verify who these people are ahead of time and try to see if their profile matches the nature of their communications. So yeah, when you're dealing with big money purchases, even if you're dealing with small, because there's people out here that'll rob you for anything, they're just criminals. I just recently had an incident where a person who posed as a mechanic DM'd me when I asked for a mechanic on a business Facebook group, and we conducted the business and everything, and he decided to take my car for a ride. He's a criminal who had mechanical skills, but he still takes advantage of people. So the thing is, when you're dealing with people, dealing with strangers on Facebook, it's always good to vet these people, to know who you're dealing with. And when you're dealing with large money purchases, you either do not deal with cash. You deal with people like you go into, well, if you're going to deal with cash, you deal with it inside of a bank or a bank within a grocery store or something like that. You never deal with a person in your house, in their house, or any place like that. You tell them to meet you in a public place, like a bank or a grocery store where that a bank may be at, or something like that, or even at the police station. Don't ever deal with them any other kind of way when you're dealing with large amounts of cash. And if you're dealing with them online, like with Cash App or something like that, you have to just do your due diligence. Especially when you're buying cars from people, because people, man, there's so many con artists, scam artists out here. You got to make sure that you test drive the car, make sure that the car is in good running condition and all of that stuff, unless they tell you ahead of time that that car has substantial mechanical problems and things like that, and you know what you're buying. Because there's so many scam artists out here nowadays, you just got to really be diligent. I've been got like that before, but it just it heightens my awareness and my vigilance in vetting these people now, so that I don't get got like that again. But just be careful, people, because there's a lot of demonic, satanic, snake scamming people out here. Like that chick made that song, Little Miami, Young Miami, whatever, made that song, scamming and all that. That song is so demonic. People actually like that song. They showed a video of her and her father actually dancing to her song about scamming and all that. The world is so satanic nowadays. It's so corrupt. It's just end time prophecies, y'all. Satan he's the ruler of this world. So yeah, this man got 18 years for using Facebook Marketplace to commit carjackings and robbing people and shooting people for their cars. Floyd Mayweather, boxer Floyd Mayweather, ran across this story. Floyd Mayweather has been charged with 2 felonies by the Clark County District Attorney for passing off bad checks. I couldn't believe this when I saw it. I'm like, yeah, this got to be a mistake or a slop story that's not true or clickbait or something. I just could not believe this. But it says that he has been charged with 2 felony counts of passing off bad checks for a watch. A jeweler said that he wrote a hot check for $200,000. Hey, shut up. This is an athlete now this is a boxer, the greatest boxer of in the history of the sport, undefeated boxer who has earned he has supposedly earned $1 billion throughout his career with no endorsements, just off of boxing and boxing promotions. He has earned $1 billion. Are you trying to tell me that he wrote a hot check for $200,000 for a stupid watch, for 2 watches or something, to a jeweler? Faces 2 felony charges in Las Vegas over allegations that he wrote a bad check to purchase a watch from a luxury resale store. He was scheduled to appear in court on Monday in Las Vegas. He was not physically present for the hearing, but an attorney representing him on his behalf appeared, and he's scheduled for a hearing in September. Mayweather, 49, was charged in April with theft as well as drawing and passing a check without sufficient funds with the intent to defraud. Prosecutors in Clark County alleged that in December 2024, Mayweather wrote a $200,000 check with Wells Fargo Bank to Las Vegas designer resale store Go to Beyond despite having insufficient funds. He probably didn't know that he didn't have that money in that account. Sometimes when you got them habits and you got that spending, you out there spending and you're gambling and you got the women and you're partying and you living this lifestyle and you're going through, you're blowing money blowing money, just hundreds of thousands, you buying $20,000 purses and $200,000 watches and things like that, and you think that you have a perpetual spigot of money that's going to just completely keep going and flowing forever and ever, and then you find out you have no money in the bank and you wrote this check to this jeweler to buy this stupid watch and you ain't got no money in your account. And so this jeweler is saying that they had been making repeated attempts to get their money from Mayweather for over a year, and they have not been able to get their money. So why not just give the watches back? He may have pawned the watches. That's why. He don't have the watches. He don't have the money. And it's probably because the people that he entrusted with his finances have shagged his accounts rotten. And he is probably cash poor and asset rich and don't have the money to repay this jeweler for that bull crap jewelry that he probably has pawned and probably don't even have in his possession anymore. So that's what I was thinking. He probably wrote the check thinking that, he had the money in the bank and the check cleared, and he didn't have the money in the bank. And when the jeweler came after him and said, hey, this check bounced, we need our money or our jewelry back. And he probably didn't have neither one. Because these people that he trusted with his money and his assets have robbed him blind. And you hear nothing of the people. Al Heyman and Leonard Ellaby, who had been with Floyd Mayweather for years. You don't hear hide or hair of them. Where are they at? What happened to them? Were they not looking out for him? Did they, it says that Al Heyman took part. They said that Al Heyman was complicit in these people robbing Floyd Mayweather blind. And that's very heartbreaking to hear because Al Heyman was the man that Floyd Mayweather trusted the most and thought that, he would be the last person to rob him blind because he's an older black man and Floyd probably really thought that Leonard and Al were looking out for him. It's very unfortunate, but you hear about this all the time with these boxers. Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, even as far back as Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, and all of these boxers, the tale is always the same at the end, is that they die broke and brain damaged, bruised, battered, and scarred. And people around them rob them blind because everybody is a damn demon and a scam artist that's only out for themselves and not looking out for these men and not putting money away. And you got all these hangers and gold diggers and these bimbos around them that's not looking out for them. They got the stupid family members that are financially illiterate. They're not looking out for them because nobody cares. Everybody is only out for themselves, only out to get what they can get. And they don't listen to people. They don't listen to people who are trying to tell them right and tell them to stop living that lifestyle. But there's nothing else you can do. Sometimes you just got to let a person just let nature take its course, let the devil have his way. And that's what God will do sometimes. He'll say, you know what, Satan, have your way. Because that person is indulging in that lifestyle with the women, with the partying and the buying all the jewelry and the cars and all the flossing and all that stuff. Sometimes God will just let you go and let you just have your way. This is what he chose to do. And so you surround yourself, you go and have these yes men around you and these snake ass people that don't care nothing about you or your family, and these old nasty women that's only around you, but you chose to have them around you. That's who buying strip clubs and stuff. See, the thing about it is, people, sometimes you can honestly earn money, but what you do with it will also affect how you keep it, and how God allows you to keep it or lose it. And so Floyd Mayweather, he was a boxer, and he came up self-made, but what he did with his money, that's what it was, and who he had around him. That was the thing. That was his mistake. And you think everybody your friend because everybody is putting on and lying to you and pretending to love you, and they don't care nothing about you. Where's Leonard Ellaby and Al Heyman and P. Rilla and all these people? Jackie, what's his name? The other friend that he had. Where's all these people at now? Same thing happened with Sugar Ray Robinson. He had the whole big entourage and everything. He was the highest paid boxer in his day. Got robbed blind, brain damage and everything. Ended up dying with pugilistic dementia, whatever. It's a tale as old as the sport itself. And Mayweather, I mean, he probably didn't listen to the people that were trying to tell him right. Only thing you can do is just, say, what, God have mercy on him. And sometimes God got to let us, the devil, he takes you high and he drops you hard. And sometimes God can't do nothing but just sit back and let nature take its course. So you choose that lifestyle and you indulge in that lifestyle, and there's nothing else anybody can do, because you're not going to listen to anybody trying to tell you right, because you're the man. And what was the line in the movie? What Don King, Ving Rhames was playing Don King, or who was that movie about Don King? He said, how can you tell God that he can't make the sun shine no more? They have that God-like complex, and you can't tell them nothing. So the only thing you can do is just let nature take its course and hope that they land as softly as possible. That's the only thing you can hope for, and pray that they land as softly as possible. But we have to serve the natural consequences of our bad decisions. And Floyd Mayweather is no exception. So he still can recover from this, but it all depends on how he handles his situation now. He's going to take a lot of losses, but all is not lost with him right now. Sometimes God got to, he got to snatch everything away from you. And it's just up to him how he handles all of this, but he can still bounce back. Everything is not lost. But Floyd has a gambling problem. He has a womanizing problem. And we don't know. We don't know what other kind of addictions that he had. He has a shopping addiction, buying up all Birkin bags and all this other stupid foolish stuff. He has a shopping addiction. These are very serious issues that need to be resolved before he can really recover from all that he is going through right now. So, yeah, it's a sad situation, but it's not something that's new. It happens in the sport of boxing. Unfortunately, these guys, they fight and they train, and then they leave the sport bruised, battered, and scarred. These people take advantage of them, rob them blind, got these old stupid bimbo women around them, and they worthless, they useless, they can't help them with anything. And it's just really sad. It's really sad. So hopefully, and I still don't say all is not lost. All is not lost. He still has the ability to earn millions of dollars, and but he gotta rein in that gambling habit. He gotta rein in that woman habit. He gotta rein in that shopping habit, and he's got to listen to people that really truly have his best interests at heart. Because it seems like he's got family and friends around him that are not financially literate. They're not saved. They're not I don't know. They just maybe there he did have people around him. He just didn't listen to them. So maybe God has allowed things to take place in people's lives in order to make them grow up and get serious about grow up and get serious. That's something you can do. But anyway, cautionary tale for the public to see that play demonic games, win demonic prizes. Speaking of money, Elon Musk has become the world's first trillionaire. On paper, that's what he's worth, $1.4 trillion. And he made a recent interview after he became this trillionaire because he took his company SpaceX public. There's what's it called, initial public offering. He has taken it public, and so he gave an interview where he says his intention is to make it to where people can travel to Mars and to different planets. Interplanetary travel is what his goal is for human beings, for people, for us, people, to be able to go to Mars and travel to Mars for whatever reason. But he gave this interview, and I put the story up there, but this is his whole thing. He wants to be able to travel outside of Earth. And I told y'all that this is a very dangerous thing because God has not given men permission to travel to other planets. Even before the fall of Adam, God only gave man, human beings, Adam, dominion over the earth and the things of the earth. He didn't say nothing about Mars. He didn't say nothing about the moon. He didn't say nothing about the sun or the planets. And see, this is where man becomes like Satan, to where they want to have the knowledge of God and the control and the omnipresence and everything. They want to be like God. And this is the thing that caused Lucifer to lose his place in heaven and to become Satan. So this is satanic because God did not give man the permission to be in Mars or in outer space or anywhere. But in the end time, it says that knowledge will increase, wickedness will increase, and this is just a fulfillment of prophecy, of eschatological biblical prophecy. That's all it is. So when Elon took SpaceX public, his 4,400 employees became millionaires because they got stock. They bought into the company. So they said that there have been many employees of Elon Musk who became millionaires. SpaceX IPO, initial public offering, employees who took advantage of stock auctions have become millionaires. It says I put a story on there. It says a former SpaceX welder becomes a millionaire after historic IPO. And this guy, his name was Juan Hernandez, became a welder at SpaceX, and he'd been there for 10 years, it says. He had never heard of the company. It was just another contract job for me at the time, he told CBS News correspondent Jolene Kent in a broadcast exclusive interview. Now, just over 10 years later, that leap of faith is paying off, following the company's $75 billion initial public offering. Hernandez, who now works at Jeff Bezos-owned rocket startup Blue Origin. So he started with SpaceX, but he now works with Blue Origin, which is owned by Jeff Bezos. Who now works at Jeff Bezos' own rocket startup Blue Origin, has roughly 6,500 shares. SpaceX shares. On Friday, SpaceX stock closed at $165.95, valuing, while his holding is worth now $1,046,175. So this guy's a millionaire. His stock is worth over $1 million. And this was 10 years ago that he went to work for SpaceX. And he held on to his stock, I see. So he now works for Bezos at Blue Origin. SpaceX shares started trading on the NASDAQ late Friday morning under the ticker symbol SBCX, marking the long-awaited Wall Street debut of the rocket and satellite company. The stock offering also turned SpaceX founder Elon Musk into the world's first trillionaire. So if I was Juan, I don't know, Juan might like his job. But if I was Juan, I would go ahead and sell my stocks, cash out, and take my $1 million and retire if I was him, or go get a business, buy a business and go into business for himself. Unless he likes working, for Blue Origin and doing what he does, I would just sell my stocks and retire. So Hernandez first heard about SpaceX from a friend who was hired as a welder there. He knew Hernandez's background and figured he'd be a good fit for the job. I thought in my head, I don't know what SpaceX is, but let's go, Hernandez said. When SpaceX hired Hernandez in 2015, he said they offered him $10,000 worth of stock. At the time, he didn't think much of it. His other jobs, which paid him hourly, had never offered him stock before, but SpaceX did. Okay, so that's a good thing. He held on to his stock, $10,000 worth of stock, and when SpaceX went public, his stock that he held on to, his shares, he has now over $1 million in shares, and I would sell it. I would get rid of it because I would get rid of it and buy my own business and go to work for myself. I wouldn't hold on to it. I mean, that's just me. If it's worth over $1 million, sell right now. Get rid of it. Invest in something else if you want some of it. But I would probably get rid of it and buy me a business, buy me a house if he doesn't already have one. I would sell it right now while it's hot. Get rid of it. I'd dump it. But that's me. I'm not him. I don't live his life. And look like my page just froze up on this story. So yeah, they said over 4,400 of his employees have become millionaires since SpaceX has went public. And Elon Musk is the world's first trillionaire. So I got all these stories posted up. I'm going to go ahead and upload it. It's like 8:40 and I have been going on for a long time. So this video is probably going to be about 2 hours because I'm going to include the news stories also. But yeah, there's a lot of weird news going on. I haven't talked about the war or anything because I'm still waiting to see how that turns out. I'll give that to the end of the week. But yeah, it's a lot of crazy stuff, y'all. So like I said, pay attention to what's going on in the news. Pay attention to the stories. And that's why I post these stories, to kind of give people an understanding of where we are in these end times. Because this is not a joke. It's not a game, people. That's my son. But yeah, okay, y'all. Peace. I'm going to stop right here. Call my son back because he's calling me. So be blessed, y'all. Peace.
Watching the best Fox 10 News.
It's Tuesday, 4:44. Welcome in. We do have top stories for you. Sadness sweeping over Southern California after a deadly plane crash at a U.S. Air Force base.
Fox News' Kevin Uretsky takes a closer look at the site and what we're learning about the victims who were tragically killed.
We lost 8 great Americans. This crash is deemed to be unsurvivable.
Tragedy in Southern California after a B-52 bomber crashed at Edwards Air Force Base, killing all 8 people on board.
It was a B-52 that was on initial takeoff, supporting the radar modernization program, which is it was a local test sortie.
Military officials say the craft went down shortly after takeoff and burst into flames.
Our team of first responders snapped into action and immediately cordoned off the area and took the appropriate action to start putting out the flames.
And as victims' loved ones are notified, we're learning more about those who lost their lives.
This was a mixed crew of military, government civilians, and government contractors. supporting this test mission.
In a statement from Boeing, the company expressed its condolences, while also revealing, quote, "It is with great sadness that we confirm 2 Boeing employees were among those on board. We are in contact with their families and are offering support."
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family members. This is a tragedy, and this is going to be the worst days of their lives.
Meanwhile, officials say the investigation into the crash will be lengthy.
We're going to stand up an interim safety board, and that will then lead to a safety investigation board. Then it'll go into an accident investigation board, and then that will determine all of the information that we can release to the public and to the next of kin. That process can take upwards of 6 months.
Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
There is video of this that we're about to show you. We were not going to be showing you the full extent of this video, but it involves a woman who was apparently doing some skydiving off of a cliff, off of a bridge, rather. That's the woman right there. She was on a bridge in Brazil, and
Skeleton Bridge is what it's called.
Yes.
That's a look at it right now.
And she, according to reports, the bungee instructors,
Here's the video.
They forgot to put the rope around her for the bungee. You can see
There were so many people watching.
Right,
I don't know how this
including
happened.
her fiance.
Her fiance was watching. After they essentially threw her over the edge, he got sick and had to get taken to the hospital because he was just so distraught over what he just saw. I mean, his fiance just plunged to her death. It was a 130-foot drop. 6 have been arrested following this, including 3 that are being charged with homicide by conditional intent. So I'm just going to read this to you. This type of charge is brought when a person is believed to have knowingly engaged in a risky activity which could result in another's death. I mean, in the video, someone yelled, "Guys, the rope," but it was too late.
And the 3 being charged are the 3 you see right there are the bungee instructors.
2 were trying to run away.
Yes, they were caught in the woods just a little bit later by a military helicopter. The company, we know, at least in Brazil, it was reportedly unlicensed. And based on the reports that we've been able to get so far, it appears that the bungee instructors forgot. I don't know how you can forget to do that, but they apparently forgot to attach a rope to her. And the bridge, by the way, it is called Skeleton Bridge. It's called that for a reason, not necessarily because it's particularly dangerous. It's because it was never finished, and people use that for extreme sports. But the fact that this happened, it's mind-boggling because it's like that should be the first thing that's done. And how can someone forget about that?
And not putting blame on the people who were there who paid for this excursion, but that's also something, your life is in someone else's hands. You better make sure that rope is attached before you get lifted into the air. I mean, they had purchased this guided tour from a private company, and the rope jump was part of that, but just a horribly tragic, and then her fiance witnessing the whole thing is just next level tragedy.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.
Think of it as a roller coaster, but you don't 100% know you're going to stay in the seat. So obviously, with today's tragedy, you realize that there is a risk factor.
Well, tonight, Moab is mourning the loss of a legendary figure in the community. Well-known base jumper and slackliner Andy Lewis and a 50-year-old man died in a remote part of Mineral Bottom.
News specialist Shelby Lofton spoke with people who traveled to Utah just to have an adventure with Lewis. Shelby, what do we know tonight about how he died?
Daniel and Garna, Grand County officials told me this was a tandem jump base jump that went wrong sometime this morning. Andy Lewis's business partner and friend told me this was a terrible accident. And tonight I talked with people who recently base jumped with Lewis, who was known for his sense of adventure.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga, guys.
Videos of Moab adventurers inching toward the edge of a cliff, holding on to harnesses, daring to look down, fill social media. And in almost every single one is guide Andy Lewis.
I say this in the most caring and loving way possible, but he was like the turtle off of Finding Nemo.
West Virginian William Craig discovered Lewis, affectionately called Sketchy Andy, from his TikTok videos.
It really touched me because it's something I've always wanted to do.
Jump on.
Craig lost his leg in a motorcycle accident, and he said base jumping was a way to get over his fears.
I kind of feel like everything in life comes back to your mental ability to overcome.
Those nerves disappeared once he met Lewis in person. It was a similar experience for Ruth Bryson.
I've never felt more free and more alive.
She left her Asheville, North Carolina home for Utah just to jump.
I needed to do some healing from losing my mother in January.
She says Lewis listened to her story and healed her heart.
It's funny how you can meet certain people in your life that you only know for a couple hours, but they leave such a big impact on you. And Andy was that for me.
His accident reminds them how dangerous base jumping is.
Think of it as a roller coaster, but you don't 100% know you're going to stay in the seat. So obviously, with today's tragedy, you realize that there is a risk factor.
Neither Craig nor Bryson regret their time with Lewis.
I wanted to go back and jump again with Andy.
And I did ask officials for more information on the second man who died today. They weren't able to update me tonight. A member of the Grand County Search and Rescue team said this loss is enormous. A lot of their rescuers are base jumpers themselves. And when they needed help on previous accidents, they said Andy was often there and he was always willing. I'll send it back to you.
After a multi-day hunt, the bear was finally tracked down to a private property in a residential neighborhood, where it was subdued with a tranquilizer gun shot by a local zookeeper.
I found some spots where I could take the shot. 3 places in total. The closest one ended up being the easiest to shoot from, so I took the shot from there.
It followed 3 days of panic in the city north of Tokyo, with schools closed amid dozens of sightings of the wild black bear. The city is now yet to decide what to do with it.
It's the first time I've ever seen anything like this, or that something like this has happened here. So I was quite surprised.
It wasn't so much scary as it just felt so unreal. So I didn't really feel any fear at first. Until it got closer, that is.
Bear attacks have spiked in Japan, including in urban areas. Last week, a bear that attacked and injured 4 people in Fukushima evaded capture. The mayor said that the animal appeared to be extremely intelligent. It had been seen turning on a tap to drink water and managed to escape the factory it had become trapped in, apparently by opening a window. The country reported a record 13 deaths in 2025, prompting the government to set up a task force this year to reduce incidents. Bears have become emboldened to seek food in urban areas, thanks to the combination of a decline in hunting, an aging and declining human population in rural areas, and the effects of climate change on natural bear food.
Tonight, the real scare at Yellowstone National Park. 2 hikers mauled in a possible grizzly bear attack. Another hiker hearing their calls for help from a distance and then finding them. Here's Trevor Ault tonight.
Tonight, the terrifying scene in Yellowstone National Park. 2 hikers mauled in a possible grizzly bear attack.
Definitely bear.
Craig Lerman was on Mystic Falls Trail near Old Faithful when he spotted massive paw prints.
Continued up the trail, saw a bloody hat and a watch that looked like it was torn off.
They belonged to a 28-year-old man, alone and badly wounded.
He started yelling for help. I've never seen anything like it before. His face, his back, his legs.
Talking with 911 dispatchers, Craig says he covered the victim with his own T-shirt.
It was bad. And knowing that that bear was still there somewhere was scary as well.
He tells ABC News the man's 14-year-old brother was also attacked. Both were airlifted to the hospital.
I just hope that they both make it, and everyone needs to be aware of these things because you don't really think it's going to happen to you.
And David, that Good Samaritan says he was told both victims survived and they're both recovering.
David, Trevor Ault reporting tonight. Trevor, thanks as always.
Made eye contact and just came straight at me. And, you know, I just kind of thought, like, this is it.
A San Carlos man describing being attacked by a grizzly bear while on a trip to a national park in Montana. The attack left him with serious injuries, but ABC 10 News reporter Michael Chen explained the instinctive move that likely saved his life.
This is a selfie taken by Daniel Crago 2 Thursdays ago at Glacier National Park in Montana. Minutes after this photo, he would find himself under attack by a grizzly bear.
At what point do you realize you're in trouble?
When I saw how close the bear was.
Before the panic that afternoon,
Last photo before the incident happened.
there was serenity.
Like peace, I love being in nature.
Crago was hours into the last hike of nearly a week of hikes with a friend in Glacier National Park when he split from her to cross a rocky snowfield to get a few photos as he was walking back over the snowfield.
And it was a smaller cub grizzly, but it was past me already.
Moments later, he saw a larger grizzly about 15 feet above him on the sloped terrain.
Did as you're told, alert the bear so you don't catch them by surprise. I said, hey bear, and as soon as it looked right up at me, it charged at me and leaped, and you could hear the roar, and I just stuck my arm up, kind of thought like, this is it.
Crago says the bear locked onto his arm and dragged him more than 20 feet before letting go and running off.
Completely split open forearm, just bleeding out. I was just in panic mode, like thinking I'm gonna die.
Rushing to his aid were his friend and several other hikers, including a doctor who applied a tourniquet to slow the bleeding. About an hour later, he was airlifted to a hospital.
Open wound, complete fracture of both bones in my forearm.
Crago undergoing 3 different surgeries, blades inserted into his arm.
I was extremely lucky the bear missed the major artery in your arm.
Crago also grateful he raised his arm, likely avoiding a bite to his head or neck area. But mostly, he's grateful for his Good Samaritan.
A new perspective on what's important. Whatever else is going on in life, I'm alive.
Michael Chen, ABC 10 News.
A daughter's fight for justice that's lasted more than a decade finally came to an end today. She watched inside a courtroom as a man was sentenced to decades in prison for the 2014 murder of her mother in Greenbelt. The case went cold for years until the daughter's social media campaign helped find the suspect who was hiding out in Mexico. News 4's Darcy Spencer has the story you'll only see on News 4.
Kiani De Jesus is smiling today. There's joy and relief after the man who killed her mom, Amelia Ignacio, more than a decade ago, was sentenced to 30 years in prison. She delivered a tearful victim impact statement.
I knew that if I didn't get it out, I would probably regret it. So I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad he got to hear it from my words too. So it makes me really happy to finally get to close all of this.
Kiani was just 11 years old when her mom died in April of 2014 at the hands of her ex-boyfriend. According to prosecutors, Juan Miguel Roman Balderas stabbed Ignacio 27 times. They say he took her to Red Lobster for dinner, killed her, then took off to Mexico using a one-way ticket he bought before the killing. Her body was found in her car in Greenbelt.
You mentioned you hadn't seen him since you were 11 years old. What was it like to see him again?
I don't know. Like it's kind of like he's a ghost almost. Like he's not even real.
Kiani was determined to find her mom's killer. She said Balderas was abusive to her and her mom. She told the judge Balderas burned her hand on the stove when she took a few quarters and abused her dog.
Last month, a family reached out to me looking for help in seeking justice for their murdered loved one.
Kiani used social media to help find Balderas. He'd been hiding out in Mexico for over a decade. He'd started a new family, leaving behind the 1-year-old son he and Ignacio shared. Kiani credits Crime Time Tea Time on Instagram with giving the case the attention it needed, leading to his arrest. He pled guilty to first-degree murder in February.
Without her, we wouldn't have been able to get the ball rolling at all. We tried, we pushed a lot, and she was the only person to respond to us. And as soon as we started, connecting with her, everything just one by one just started falling in order.
Kiani says she's thinking about becoming a lawyer or detective now that her mom's killer has been brought to justice.
The judge herself telling me that she was really proud of me, it made me really happy. It made me feel like all of the work that I did was, for something good to finally come out of it.
Balderas' attorney indicated that he is a changed man. She said he had no other criminal record and had taken responsibility for this crime. She asked for a sentence of 20 years. Balderas himself made no statement at his sentencing hearing. In Upper Marlboro, Darcy Spencer, News 4.
This preschool is where 3 kids tested positive for methamphetamine. You would imagine it would be shut down after that, but the doors here are still open. And some parents say the business is not holding up to its end of a bargain.
My daughter, she don't sleep for 2 days. No eat, no nothing.
Jose Aguilar says this is video of his daughter behaving abnormally in May of 2024 after the 4-year-old at the time came home from daycare and vomited.
Mama, hey, te hablo. ¿No quieres ir al hospital?
It may be hard to tell from this clip, but he says
She don't see normal. She's talking too much, and she's jumping.
his suspicions led him to taking the girl to a hospital where a blood test came back positive for amphetamine.
What was your reaction when they told you there was methamphetamine in her blood?
So I feel really sad. I feel really mad.
Do you like it?
I do like that one.
Me too.
Camelia Bakir's mother says her little girl, who was 2 at the time, also tested positive for methamphetamine in May of 2024.
What was your reaction?
I was very shocked because, like I said, I didn't know what it means, but then when she kind of elaborated on it that it's meth, I was like, what do you mean? Like, where could she get that?
Sharuk Bakir says the symptoms were similar to what Jose Aguilar described.
She didn't want to eat, she didn't want to drink anything.
The children had one more thing in common. They both attended Rainbow Early Learning Center in Winnetka.
Were they family friends? Did they interact with one another?
To my knowledge, no. There was no familial contact. They didn't spend time with one another outside the school.
Ase Amofoa represents the Bakirs in their lawsuit against the daycare.
There were symptoms that these children were exposed to dangerous drugs, and staff, no one really took it seriously. Parents weren't notified. Medical personnel wasn't contacted to look into this.
CBS California Investigates reached out to the California Department of Social Services, which has oversight of daycares, and confirmed an investigation in July of 2024 substantiated complaints from 3 families. CDSS says its investigation found an employee had placed a small bag containing meth in a bathroom cubby. Investigators say 3 children were exposed to and allowed to ingest substances containing amphetamine and/or methamphetamine. During a phone call, the school's director told us the employee has been fired. And CDSS says she is prohibited from employment in, presence in, and contact with clients of any facility licensed by CDSS.
For somebody to hurt a 2-year-old, it's like, what were you thinking?
In the wake of the CDSS investigation, Tampi Management, which owns Rainbow Early Learning Center, reached an agreement with CDSS, which included the revocation of the facility's license. But we've learned that action has been put on hold for 3 years while the company operates under probationary conditions, and the state requires the facility to inform all current and prospective parents of the probationary status.
Were you ever notified?
No, not at any point.
Dominic Gamali has a daughter at Rainbow Early Learning Center.
Under no circumstances should people be able to get off easy. I feel like these establishments should be completely shut down.
About half a dozen other parents told us off camera they also had not been informed of the probationary status when we visited the school in April.
Excuse me.
When we tried to ask questions, a woman closed the gate on us. CBS California Investigates obtained data that showed between 2020 and 2025, nearly 400 child care centers and family child care homes across the state were placed on probationary status for failing to comply with health and safety regulations. 200 are located in LA, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. CDSS says the names and addresses of the facilities are exempt from our Public Records Act request.
I love going swimming.
Both little girls are now at new schools. Camelia's mom says she feels a responsibility to protect other kids.
What is your hope with this lawsuit?
I drive by this school all the time and I feel bad that it's even still open or it's under the same management, Something has to change.
CDSS says it is investigating a second Tampi Management facility after a lawsuit alleges a child was left in a locked vehicle for about an hour. We reached out to Tampa management, but it declined to comment on that case as well as the one here. To find out if a child care facility is on probation, you can go to our website, which is cbsla.com. Be sure to click Seen on TV. In Winnetka, Jeff Nguyen, CBS California investigates.
Breaking news. It's a terrorist plot. That's not a few guys doing crazy stuff. That is a coordinated, planned terrorist plot. Thank God we thwarted it.
You saw it here first at noon. An Omaha man accused in a plot to attack an event at the White House.
Abraham Hermosillo Alvarez faces federal charges of conspiracy to murder and conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States. Omaha's news leader has team coverage. Christopher Salas is in Washington with the latest on the investigation into the plot.
First, we go to KETV Newswatch 7 Capitol Bureau Chief John Grinwald. He's live outside the federal courthouse in Lincoln, where that suspect will appear before a judge in a matter of days. John.
Authorities arrested Abraham Hermosillo Alvarez over the weekend. The Department of Justice shed more light on its investigation on Tuesday afternoon. Alvarez was one of at least 5 people across at least 4 states arrested in connection to a plan to attack multiple federal officials at the UFC fight at the White House on Sunday. According to the Department of Justice, the plan would have included a shooting and explosive drone attack at the White House this weekend. The planned targets are believed to be President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Elon Musk. Plotters allegedly coordinated first through TikTok and then through the encrypted messaging app Signal. There, the plans were discussed in greater detail. According to ABC News, 23 people were allegedly in Signal chats discussing the plans. And the DOJ says Alvarez was a key ringleader known as Shepherd, quote, responsible for planning, organizing, and directing the planned attack. Authorities say the group's fallback point was set to be an abandoned church in the town of Western, Nebraska. KETV asked Governor Jim Pillen about the arrest this afternoon.
It's not talk that you want to talk about as governor of Nebraska, but I think the hardcore reality is what we have to recognize is that there's hardened criminals everywhere across the United States, and unfortunately here in the state of Nebraska. I could not be more proud of our local FBI, of our local state patrol.
Authorities allege the planned attack was motivated by ultra-religious and anti-government sentiments, including anger with the handling of the Epstein files. Alvarez is set to be back in court on June 24th at 2 p.m. Reporting live in Lincoln, John Grinwald, KETV News Watch 7.
Leading the way with breaking news.
Investigators calling it a violent plot targeting the White House UFC event. And one of those arrested is a 19-year-old from right here in Ohio. Thanks for joining us here at 4 o'clock. I'm Ashley Kirkland.
And good evening to you. I'm Cherie Palello. Tonight, WLWT investigates breaking down the allegations and the warning signs raised by his own family. Our WLWT News 5's Karen Johnson is in Knox County. That's about 60 miles east of Columbus, where that suspect lives. And Karen, what have you found?
Yeah, hey, Cherie, there's a lot here, so I'm going to break it all down. The man who is at the center, or has been identified as being at the center of this case, has been identified as 19-year-old Tyson Proper of Danville, Ohio. This town is about 1,000 people, so very small town. Tonight, though, Proper is in the Franklin County Jail, charged with several federal crimes, including conspiracy and attempted murder of an employee of the United States. I want to go back to last Wednesday. That's when this investigation began here in Knox County, after Proper's mother called police to report concerns about her son's recent conduct, including firearm purchases and communications with people he met online. His father, who I actually spoke with briefly today outside their house, told investigators his son had spent about $3,000 in graduation money on camping gear, food, ballistic plates, firearms, magazines, and ammunition. His parents told authorities Proper was preparing to leave last weekend to meet the people he had been chatting with online. Then, after obtaining his cell phone, federal investigators say they found chats laying out detailed plans for an attack in Washington, D.C., including maps, possible sniper locations, launch points, and escape routes. The complaint states Proper admitted he and others discussed attacking during the White House UFC event this past Sunday. The plan, according to investigators, was to use drones to explosive devices to force crowds to evacuate, then position shooters near an evacuation point to open fire.
This is still an active, ongoing investigation. Just because we're done with Freedom 250 or that particular event doesn't mean we're going to stop. There are still suspects at large, and we're going to work it until everyone's been identified.
And just minutes ago, we did get an update from the Department of Justice confirming so far 5 people have been arrested from several different states in connection to this alleged plot. We also know, going through court documents, that Proper was talking to at least 20 other people online. But again, investigators say this is an ongoing investigation. Reporting live in Knox County, Ohio, Karen Johnson, WLWT News 5.
Karen, I want to go back a little bit. What did Proper's father have to say when you were at their house today, and what was that interaction rather like?
Yeah, you know, Cherie, I can tell you when we pulled up to the house, he did greet me at the front of the house. He was very calm, very polite, just telling me, you know, I'm sorry, but at this moment we don't have any public statement. He said he was going to be speaking with his son later today and wanted to uncover a few more details before the family speaks publicly.
All right, understandably, Karen Johnson live for us tonight.
Tonight, an online car sale turns violent. Federal prosecutors say a Colorado man used Facebook Marketplace to target victims, shooting one and stealing 2 high-end cars.
And now he is headed to federal prison for nearly 2 decades. Senior investigative reporter Jennifer Kovaleski has the warning investigators want you to hear.
This is the car. The individual would seek out Mercedes-Benz that were for sale through Facebook Marketplace.
26-year-old Alex DeShriver wasn't looking for a deal.
He's a violent and determined criminal.
Prosecutors say he was targeting luxury cars and their sellers through Facebook Marketplace.
The gentleman was removing a car seat from the back seat in anticipation of selling the vehicle, and he shot him.
U.S. Attorney Peter McNeely led the federal case. Court records show the violence started in Loveland. DeShriver used his Facebook account to set up a meeting for a Mercedes sedan.
The husband of the woman who posted the vehicle went on the test drive and got carjacked at gunpoint.
A month later, in November of 2023, Denver police worked a strikingly similar crime. This time, the seller was shot in the thigh.
That is an escalating pattern of conduct.
What role did ATF play in this case?
ATF was central to bringing the cases together.
ATF special agent in charge, Chris Ashbridge, says his team linked the cases with surveillance video, online messages, and ballistics, turning 2 violent carjackings into 1 federal prosecution.
And we were able to take a couple of what may have appeared as isolated incidents and connect them into a string of violent crimes. All right, I'm with you.
Denver police body camera video shows officers finding the second stolen Mercedes.
Violent criminals, they value property more than they value another human being's life.
DeShriver pleaded guilty to 2 counts, and a judge just sentenced him to 18 years in federal prison.
We turn to these sites because it's fast and it's easy.
McNeely says criminals are targeting social media marketplaces, and they're urging anyone who buys or sells online to take steps before meeting face-to-face.
Be careful where you arrange things to happen. Bringing someone to your house is a risky practice. Do whatever you can to verify who these people are ahead of time and try to see if their profile matches the nature of the communications.
Investigators say this case shows how quickly an online deal can turn violent. They recommend meeting at a police station, or at the very least, a public place. I'm senior investigative reporter Jennifer Kovaleski.
Jennifer and our entire Investigates team are committed to digging for answers and getting accountability for Coloradans. If you have a story you think she should look into, take out your phone and scan that QR code on your screen. Or you can send her an email at jennifer.kovaleski@denver7.com.
Rapper Mystical has been sentenced to 20 years in prison without the possibility of parole on a third-degree rape charge.
A case we were following closely. Louisiana First News reporter Michelle Maslon has the latest details from Ascension Parish.
After years of legal proceedings, the case against Louisiana rapper Mystical reaches its conclusion. The 55-year-old New Orleans native, whose real name is Michael Tyler, was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
I think as a celebrity, sometimes trouble finds him.
Prosecutors say Tyler sexually assaulted a woman at his Prairieville home in 2022. During the sentencing hearing, the victim delivered an emotional impact statement. She told the court she was raped and tortured for hours while pleading for her life. She went to the hospital where she was given a rape kit, which showed injuries consistent with her account of what happened. She said the assault continues to impact her physical and mental health 4 years later. Tyler spoke before the court imposed its sentence after hearing the victim speak. He said, "If that's what I did, I deserve every day of this sentence. I'm sorry. I hope you heal." The judge thanked both for addressing the court before handing down the sentence. Tyler will receive credit for time already served. Upon his release from prison, he'll be required to register as a sex offender. This is not his first conviction for a sex crime. Tyler previously pled guilty to similar charges more than 2 decades ago and served 6 years in prison. He has 30 days to appeal Tuesday's sentence. Michelle Masson, Louisiana First News.
And Mr. Tyler was taken into custody following the hearing.
Headline: Boxing legend Floyd Mayweather Jr. charged with felony theft over alleged bad check for $200,000 luxury watch. Las Vegas undefeated boxing icon Floyd Money Mayweather Jr. is facing serious legal trouble outside the ring after being hit with felony theft charges in Nevada. The charges stem from allegations that the high-rolling, self-proclaimed billionaire used a bad check to acquire a luxury timepiece worth $200,000, according to Clark County Court records. Mayweather has been formally charged with 2 felony counts, theft and issuing a check with the intent to defraud. The alleged incident. The transaction reportedly took place at an upscale Las Vegas jewelry boutique, a frequent hunting ground for Mayweather, who is known globally for his multi-million-dollar collection of ice and high-end watches. According to investigators, Mayweather took possession of a custom timepiece valued at $200,000 after presenting a personal check for the full amount. However, when the merchant attempted to process the payment, the check was flagged and ultimately bounced due to insufficient funds. Despite multiple attempts by the jeweler to clear up the matter and secure the funds, the payment was never successfully made, leading the business owner to contact local authorities. Legal ramifications. Under Nevada law, passing a bad check for an amount over $10,000 escalates the offense to a Category B felony. If convicted on both counts, the 50-0 Hall of Famer could face severe penalties, including mandatory full financial restitution to the jeweler, substantial court fines, a potential prison sentence ranging from 1 to 10 years per count. As of press time, court filings do not indicate whether Mayweather has formally entered a plea, and his legal representatives have not issued a public statement. A preliminary hearing date has yet to be publicly scheduled. A growing web of financial and legal battles. The timing of these felony charges adds to an increasingly turbulent period for the retired fighter. Mayweather has found himself in a flurry of massive legal battles, complicating his money persona. The $175 million advisement lawsuit. Mayweather recently filed a massive lawsuit in a Manhattan court accusing his former investment manager, Jonah Rechnitz, of orchestrating an elaborate fraud scheme that allegedly swindled the boxer out of $175 million through unauthorized real estate transfers and pawn jewelry. The Elon Musk Access scam lawsuit. Mayweather and Rechnitz were also jointly sued in Miami for $4 million by a digital artist who claims the duo fraudulently took cash and luxury watches under the false promise of providing direct access to tech billionaire Elon Musk. The Showtime battle. Mayweather is currently pursuing a separate blockbuster $340 million lawsuit against Showtime, alleging a complex web of hidden accounts has kept him from receiving his full fight payouts. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you.
Now to SpaceX's historic IPO. The stock is already up 20%, making Elon Musk a trillionaire. And to put it into perspective, if you made $100,000 a year and never spent a penny to become a trillionaire, you'd have to work 10 million years. The company has also minted thousands of new millionaire employees. Senior business and tech correspondent Jolene Kent spoke with one of them.
SpaceX stock blasted off in its debut, soaring more than 19% on the NASDAQ before closing at $161 a share, making it the largest initial public offering in history.
If people had told me this was gonna happen, I was like, man, you must be smoking some really good crack.
Founder and CEO Elon Musk, already the world's richest man, became the first ever trillionaire, touting his vision for the future.
SpaceX wants to be able to take you to the moon, take you to Mars, and ultimately beyond.
SpaceX, which includes the rocket company, the satellite internet provider Starlink, and xAI, also minted more than 4,400 new millionaires.
It's pretty unreal. Don't have the words, honestly.
One of them, Juan Hernandez, a welder at SpaceX for 10 years, who was paid both a salary and shares in SpaceX.
As an immigrant, I was always taught just to work hard, do the best I can what I do. And thanks to SpaceX, you see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Do you feel like you've achieved the American dream?
Yeah, but there's no reason to stop.
As for the average investor, experts advise exercising caution if you're buying the stock post-IPO.
Anytime a company that has left profitability, you're going to want to be patient. And if you can't hold, then it may not deserve that much of your portfolio just yet.
At the closing bell, SpaceX is now worth over $2 trillion. That's with a T, more than General Motors and Walmart combined. And that's raising more concerns that SpaceX is overvalued. This IPO is also considered a bellwether for other big companies like Anthropic and OpenAI that may go public later this year, Matt.
And Jo Ling, you'll be watching those IPOs as well. Thank you.
The Dow Industrials are up 285. Okay, Musk is speaking right now. Have we got the sound? Listen in, please.
Going public with the largest IPO that ever. And let me tell you, if people had told me this was going to happen, I was like, man, you must be smoking some really good crack. Because I think this company's going to fail. I gave SpaceX less than a 10% chance of succeeding at all, to be clear. In fact, I told people this. I said, look, we're probably going to fail, but we should give it a try, because if we don't, if there's not a new company that enters space, we will never be a truly spacefaring civilization. While the other aerospace companies, they build good rockets and everything, they were simply not pursuing the technology that's necessary to make life multiplanetary, to make Star Trek, to make the exciting science fiction futures that we've read about real. And that's what SpaceX is all about, is to take the fiction out of science fiction and create an exciting, inspiring future for everyone. We want to be able to take anyone who wants to go to the moon, anyone who wants to go to Mars, or anywhere in the solar system, and maybe beyond the solar system at some point. We want to be able to take you there. Not just a few astronauts. I mean you, literally you. If you watch, whoever you are watching this, SpaceX wants to be able to take you to the moon, take you to Mars, and ultimately beyond. And I'm confident at this point that with the incredible team that we have here at SpaceX, that we will do that for you. I always think about this. There are always problems on Earth. There are always problems on Earth. There are always things that we wish to be better, that we want to solve here on Earth, and we should solve them. But there also have to be things that get you excited about the future, that make you glad to wake up in the morning, because you can't wait to see what happens next. And that's the future that SpaceX wants to bring to you. Yeah.
Ain't that something? All of those people at Starbase in Texas, that was where the pictures were coming from at first. This is from New York.